So we are basing our discussion today on the 2018 paper, the October-November 2018 paper for MEC 702. So it's a finance day today. I don't think I'll make it for costing because I'm gonna have load shedding a little bit later. So I think we might as well do finance and then we'll give costing another day. Don't have a problem with that. All right, so what we'll be doing today, we had a similar question in the assignment, so we'll do a slight variation on this one here, part A, and then of course we'll do B and then talk about part C. I hope we make it to part C. All right, question A, I'm hoping that you've read through the examination paper. If you haven't, it's fine. We'll get through it just now. Calculate the number of debentures and ordinary shares to be issued under each proposal using book values where necessary. All right, so which means we have certain proposals in the scenario that we have to look at and then decide how much of the debentures and ordinary shares should be issued. Right, and we are going to find out issued for what anyway. So proposal number 1. So it's on item 4 here. SA Clinic is exploring 2 proposals below to decide on the best method to finance the gastrointestinal. Okay, it's gastrointestinal unit project. All right, so this is a project that they want to do. Okay, and then it has to be financed. So proposal number 1 for the financing is the issuing of ordinary shares, and the value of a share is given there as 4 rand 5 cents, and then the issuance cost of course 4.78% per share. And then we're also given the current growth rate of 3.5, and it's expected to double going forward. Right, so the company declared a dividend of 15 cents 31st of August 2018. So the dividend increases in line with the growth rate, which is what's given there. And then the debentures, the company will issue 12% debentures at a nominal value of 70 rand each, redeemable in 5 years at a premium of 7.5%. Then proposal number 2. So preference shares could be issued as well, which are 11% irredeemable preference shares at a nominal value of 100, each dividends are cumulative. And then debentures are 12%. These seem to be the same as those. So which means the big difference is going to be on the preference shares, and so it's going to be a choice between the preference shares and the ordinary shares. Then based on our module, preference shares, once preference shares are irredeemable and for the most part cumulative, they are classified under equity, right? Classified under equity. And then if they are redeemable, then they are classified under debt. So that's a simple distinction that we draw between those two. So if you want to decide whether to classify your preference shares as equity or debt, you want to look at whether they are redeemable or irredeemable, right? The main thing actually that you look at, right? Okay, so let's have a look and see how much money is at stake, all right? So the money that is at stake, what's going on there? I only just perused through this before the session. All right, so this is the proposal. So the clinic is considering to establish a gastrointestinal unit, a sector of the clinic that will use in the treatment care of all cancers arising, including the associated organs of the liver. This is biliary, I believe, biliary system, pancreas, and endocrine, I believe, neuroendocrine. Of medical terms here, biology. All right, this project will require a purchase will require a purchase setup of highly specialized equipment to be imported from Sweden, where it has been developed by a team of medical specialists. So the total value of the project is set at 12.5 switches and includes all medical equipment required for the project. And then the Swedish company will ship the equipment on the 1st of December 2018 to South Africa in parts where it will be assembled at the clinic. The payment of the equipment will be effected on the 1st of January 2019. So SA Clinic will take out a forward exchange contract on the 1st of December 2018 in order to hedge against currency fluctuations. So the company estimates that rates on the 1st of December 2018 will be as follows. So we have the first one, which is the forward exchange rate per month. All right, sorry, I think we lost the network on that other gadget. Let me just share the screen again. It will take only a second. You see, load shedding is threatening here, so we're going to be having lots of these bottlenecks. Right, so the forward exchange rate, which is a month later, is 1.48, and then 2 months is going to be 1.62, and then the spot rate is 1.45. All right, so this is fairly easy. Let me open up an Excel sheet so we can start off with our workings. Right. So by the way, if there's a way in which you can present these workings differently, it will be very nice. You can present these workings different for you to actually be able to present these different from how I put them across here. And then speaking of which, there are classes that your lecturers are running also. Make sure that you get the recordings so that you can get the tips on how they want you to present the work. Sometimes it's very easy for them to detect if you haven't. Okay, what these universities basically do, you find that our universities are asking us the same concepts, basically. If you go to Regents, maybe if you go to Free State, wherever you go, they are basically going to be asking you the same concepts, right? But sometimes how you present it might be different. They might want you to present it slightly different from how other universities present it. See, so it's always nice to know how they want it. For us, it's also easy. Maybe even if you didn't attend the classes, you can just flip through one of those study guides or you flip through the question bank. It will basically give you an idea of what the structure of your answer should look like. You see, so you don't always, if you look at, for instance, how we do, a very good example is how we do weighted average cost of capital. So how we will do it in finance and how we will do it with other universities, slightly different from what we do here. You see, so it's always nice if you can familiarize yourself with our study material, right? Okay, so I want to put up the cost, right? I want to put up the cost because at the end of the day, we are deciding how the said cost has to be funded. It's either through the said ordinary shares and debentures, or it's going to be preference shares and debentures on option 2. So we need to first know what the cost is. Can I just blow this up a little bit? Right, I think that's going to be a little bit better there. So we are looking there at the 12.5 million Swedish. So we know that that's the cost for starters. But the big problem now, which is not a big problem, it's denominated in foreign currency, right? And our reporting currency is rand, right? So we necessarily now have to convert this foreign currency into rands. But what rate are we going to use? Because now we are given 3 rates here, so we need to decide what rate we are going to use. Maybe I'm going to ask you if there's anyone here who's doing accounting, what rate you would use in terms of accounting? Anybody doing accounting, which is FACs? Anyone doing FACs, please help us. What rate would you use in terms of the costing of this what is it, this small equipment, this big unit here? How would you cost it in accounting? Anybody doing FAC? And I know you, by the way, so I could just pick anyone doing FAC and ask you how, according to your standards, how you'd do the costing for this thing, how you would record it basically in your books. What journals would you effect there? Anybody going once, twice? All right, let me just assume you know and you are scared to unmute yourself. All right, let me just fill you in on that one. So in terms of accounting, what you would do, because now we want to decide how much is the cost of this GI unit and how much are we going to include it. Or sorry, at what price are we going to include it in our book? So now, in terms of financial accounting, these are the things that you look at. You look at what we call the free on board date, right? So which is the date where all the risks, I think they say it's the risks and responsibilities. We risk and what? I forget the name now, the law term that they use. But in effect, we are talking about when the risks have been transferred from seller to the buyer. Right? So it's basically the free on board date, which is when when the shipping takes place usually. So you basically take the exchange rate as at that date. So that's the transaction date. That's what we refer to as the transaction date, because with effect from that day, you have bought the GI unit, though you have not yet received it here in South Africa, but we consider it to have been bought in terms of law. So which means the exchange rate that you would use would therefore be the spot rate as at that date, right? So which is the shipment date. So in these circumstances, it would therefore be, right, let me see what the date is. So the Swedish company will ship the equipment on the 1st of December 2018. Right? So which means the company estimates that the exchange rates on the 1st of December 2018 are as follows. So you would therefore go for the spot rate there. So the spot rate would basically be indicative of the rate that you are going to use, the translation rate that you are going to use when you are doing the costing in your book. So which means the value of your GI unit on your journals, you are going to be debiting it with what? 1.45 times 12.5 million. That's fairly easy. So all these other ones here, in FAC, they'll normally give you maybe a couple of spot rates. Maybe they'll give you another spot rate 2 months after or 3 months after when the payments have been made. So those ones have just got to do with the profits and the losses, which we call exchange gains or exchange losses. They've really got nothing to do with the value of the equipment as at the acquisition date. But now, because we are dealing with where you need to be on the lookout for now, right? Be on the look for, I think, all right, that I think we lost this screen for a second. You need to be on for now, ladies and gentlemen. To look out for now. Why I'm specifically mentioning this is because I know some of you, if you are doing MAC, you are also most likely doing FAC module. So you could have been confused with that. How so? Because this is how you are supposed to treat it here, right? This kind of circumstance, because circumstances are different. So we need to fully read through this. Right. So our issue at hand is this here, where we are saying the SA Clinic offering two proposals below to decide the best method to finance. So which means we are basically looking at ways in which we can finance the GI unit. So we need to know how much this GI unit is going to cost us. And we need to know the cost in actual, because this is management, we need to know in terms of the actual monies that are going to be given off to this project. So how much are we going to pay? Right. So we are not exactly dealing with what's going to be in our accounts or in our journals. No, we are dealing with how much we are going to pay. So once we know how much we're going to pay, then we can decide where we are going to get that money, because now we know how much we're going to pay. So let's find out therefore when the payment is going to be made. So the payment, company estimates that, right, let's see, the payment of the equipment will be effective on the 1st of January 2019, which means we need the money when on 1st of January 2019. So it doesn't matter when we went into an agreement with this company, the bottom line is when are you paying, right? So this is when we are paying. And then what rate are we? We are told that we have taken an FEC, forward exchange contract, right? So the contract, so which is from the 1st of December to the 1st of January 2019, that's in a month time. So which means we are going to make the payment a month from the 1st of December 2018 using forward exchange contract, so which is going to be 148. So if the payment were in 2 months time, which is say on the 1st of February, then we were going to use that rate, right? So it's fine. We went into the agreement when the rate was 1.45, but we disregard this rate because we are not going to make a payment based on this rate, but we are making a payment based on that rate. So the money that we basically need to raise is based on the forward exchange contract. And by the way, what's the forward exchange contract? A forward exchange contract is a contract that you could enter into with the bank, which guarantees you a certain value of foreign currency or a certain price of your foreign currency. So, for instance, you pay this Swedish company how much? 12.5 billion, right? When you need to pay the amount, you need to pay the amount when on the 1st of January 2019, and then you have a spot exchange rate, right? And exchange rate is only effective on the 1st of January, sorry, 1st of December 2018. What is the spot exchange rate? This is the current rate, which is the current price that you could go to right now. Maybe you could go to bank and fetch foreign currency based on that price. It will take you about 2 days to fetch that money with this spot rate. So you had the payment made on the date of agreement, which is of December 2018. This is the rate that you're going to use. So we are aware of the date, so there is no risk attached with that. But because the payment is deferred to a month later, you can't be sure now how much the rate is going to be. For example, if the rand depreciates, it's going to work against you, right? Say the rand moves to a rate of 2:1 there. It means that you are going to fork out more from your pocket. So these foreign currency fluctuations are a risk. So the risk is that you might end up paying a lot more than what you bargained for, because in rands, but your payment needs to be in foreign currency. So you need to convert your rands into foreign currency. If the rate is not favorable for you, then you are going to be in trouble. So as a smart financial manager, what you do, you then go and fetch a foreign exchange contract. So it's a forward exchange contract on your forex, right? So this is basically going to fix the exchange rate to this amount. So what's the advantage of this? You know now for sure that this is the amount that you are going to pay with regards to your obligation, 12.5 million that you need to pay this guy in Sweden. You've got a guarantee. So that's what we are going to do. So because now we need to pay 1.48, then we are raising money according to how much we need to pay. So 1.48 times 12 is going to give us the amount that we need to raise. So let's just put that up there. So the cost is 12.5. So we are going to raise those 3 zeros there, right? And then we are saying the rate that we are using is a rate of 1.48. Right? So we're using the rate of 1.48. We are multiplying that by 1.48. Let's see what that's going to give us. Right? So this is basically give us right. Just give me a second. Right, so it's gonna be 12,500 times 1.4. So don't forget in your calculations that this is millions, right? So basically, this is the amount that we're going to pay towards the GIM unit. Clear so far, I'm hoping. If you have any questions, just stop me anytime and we'll clarify any of these things. All right, so let's go back to the question now. Now that we cost, now that we know the cost, we are going back to the question. All right. I'm just waiting for this to show now on the other side. I'm on the question. No, why it's not? Oh, okay, sorry. Right, it should change anytime now. Right, there we go. Calculate the number of debentures and ordinary shares that need to be issued under it. So now we know the cost, the amount, our target amount, the amount that we need to raise. Seen the amount now. I think it's 18.5. So how are we going to raise that amount? Let's see again, wait, and then under each proposal using book values where necessary. So now they are giving you a hint that we are using. I make use of these book values. So like I indicated the one time, once you are being asked questions about how you need to raise funds, and to make use of, you want to go the target capital structure. So it will help you decide how much of equity you need to issue and how much of debt you need to. And that's where that comes in. Right? I think we had that in the assignment, like I said. Right, so we are using book values. Sometimes we could be using market values. Right. So let's see what the target is and then where we are at the moment. So you want to check that now. So target debt to equity is 30 to 70. Right. That's what we are given there on the question. The target debt to equity is then seems like it's a little bit slow on this side. I don't know what's going on. I don't see it moving on the other screen, but I'm on the question paper. Okay. It's extremely slow. It's the network. I must apologize for that. Maybe on your side, it's quite quick, but on my side, it's moving a little bit slow. But that's okay. All right, so we have the target. Let me just put that up there. It is 30 to 70. All right, target is 30 to 70. We'll keep it at that there. All right, wait, allow me to stop the share and then I'll try and reshare. Maybe it's my gadget, I don't know, but something seems here. Something seems like it's not, there isn't any movement. Okay. Just give me a second. All right, I see what's going on there. Let me just rectify that quickly so we can proceed with the class. So every time there is about to be load shedding, the network starts to act up. Okay, let me fix that for us in a second. I'm gonna fix that for us, ladies and gentlemen. All right. All right, it's getting there. Going through the session, the recording, you could also come to my inbox, right? And then we can see where we are missing each other on that one. But I'm just gonna connect this shortly. I think it's all right. We're gonna join in a second. Right. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. We've done just now. You'll be able to see what's going on there. I actually had to disconnect now the other gadget. Suddenly taking a lot more time than I expected. Oh, okay. I think I'm about to pause the recording because it's taking a lot. Okay, it's coming in now. Taking slightly longer than I expected. Right. Getting there. Right, getting there. All right.
Recording in progress.
All right. I think we are in now. All right. This is where we were. This is where we were. All right. So we want to check the current structure now. This is what we want to do. We want to check the current structure. So it's good because now we only have equity and one kind of debt here, which is just debentures, non-current liabilities. That's all that we have here. So our equity, the total equity is 14,240, and then the total debt is 3,560. So we want to put that down there, right, on our spreadsheet. Right. So this is what I'm going to write now, because we want to decide what kind of instrument we want to issue. Okay, it's instrument. All right, instruments there. Right, so which could either be an equity instrument or a debt instrument. Right, that is what we want to do. We want to decide between those two there. Right, and then we want to look at our current structure there. So which is what, and we have been told that we need to use the book values, right? We need to use the book values. So our equity, we said it's 14,240, right? It's 14,240, and then our debt is 3,560. Right? I'm fetching these from the question paper, right? I'm simply fetching this from question paper, right? All right, and then from there, we could as well have a total, okay? So if you like, you could as well calculate the current structure, but it's not that necessary. You are going to be interested in the additions here, right? But what are these additions? Additions is the money that we need to raise, the funds that we need to raise, okay? And then on those funds, I think a number of you were asking me questions with regards to this on the assignment. So this is also another opportunity to get the answer. So on the additions here, we basically want to add how much? We said we want to add 18,500, right? That's an addition. This is the amount that we need to raise there. Then of the amount that we need to raise, the question is asking us how much of equity and how much of debt. And then not just that, our question in particular goes a step further to ask us how much of ordinary shares and then how much of preference shares can you issue in the different options, right? So this is basically what you're doing, you're filling in there, right? And then here you can have the target, right? So which is target structure, right? And then take note here that the target structure is going to be inclusive of this amount here. So what you do at this point, you want to add, right? You want to add the initial capital that you have to the additions, right? Obviously, this is going to be long-term funding, right? And we know that it can either be debt or equity. So before the additions, we had 17,800, and then you wish to add to your capital 18,500. So if you add 18,500 to 17,800, this is what you get, 36,300, right? And then this 36,300 now needs to be split, right, in terms of our target, right? In terms of our target, it should be target like that. In terms of our target structure, and based on what we read, the target structure, I believe, is 30 of debt is to 70 of equity, right? That's the structure that we are working on. So which means our debt needs to be 30, while that there is 70. So which of course is gonna give you 100 if you add up the two, right? So what does this mean now? We want to split this 36,300 on this ratio, or using this ratio, which is a ratio of 70 is to 30, which is 70 for equity and 30 for debt. That's what you want to do. So how to get the amounts here, therefore, is quite simple. So you want this 0.7. This is 0.7 coming from 70 there, which is 70 over 100. So it's basically 70%, right? So which is 0.7 times the total, which is 36,300. So which means after your additions, your equity should be 25,410, and then your debt should be, now we are multiplying by 0.3, it should be 10,890. So this is now split in that ratio. So we are working towards this target capital structure. So which means whatever we do to this 18,500, we are hoping that it should get us where it should basically get us to 25,410 and to 10,890. That's what we are hoping to do. So the amounts that you put in here, therefore, are balancing figures there. So what are the balancing figures? This is basically 25,410, the difference between where we want to be and where we are. So this is where we are currently. So which is 11,170. This is what you want to issue of equity. And then again, at 70 there, this is our target, and then this is where we are, right? So quite simple. If you add these two amounts here, they should basically give you 18,500, right? So this is the amount that you see right there on the 18,500. So how is that 18,500 split between equity and debt? Split like that, right? And then why so? Because we want to arrive at this target capital structure. That's what we want to get there, right? So in terms of option 1 now, option number 1, Right, we are going to read through the scenario now and see how we need to fund that in terms of, or which is proposal number 1. So in terms of proposal number 1, the company will issue ordinary shares at that value. So now we want to find out how many of these ordinary shares can we issue if this is the given value and we wish to raise, we say it 11 something, that amount there. Right. So now we need to obviously find the value per share, and then we divide, or the value that we can get per share, the money that we can get per share, divided by the amount of money that we need, right? So maybe to make this a lot more interesting, under option 1, we can then say value per share. So here we are basically dealing with the amount that each share can basically give us. Actually, basically what we can get out of a share. So these shares are valued at 4 rand 5 cents and at an issuance cost of 4.78%. So which means the actual money that we can get per share now is going to be 4 rand and 5 cents minus this percentage here, right? So which means this amount here is going to go towards certain expenses to defray certain expenses which have got to do with us issuing those shares, maybe brokerage fees, whatever the case is, right? So at the end of the day, this 4.78% isn't coming to the company's pockets, right? So we need to disregard this 4.78 or exclude it from this here. So I'm gonna write it down here on the side while I can see the figures, and then I'm gonna take you to see what I wrote. So it's 4.05, and then we are multiplying that by 1 minus, right, we're multiplying that, sorry, by 1 minus 0.078. All right, let me just share the screen there so you see what I'm doing. This is what I've been writing. So this is the nominal value of the share, which is the quoted price of the share. But we are not going to receive the full amount because 4.78% is going towards 4.78% is going towards the issuance cost. So which means we need to remove that amount. So which means the total amount that we can fetch per share is therefore going to be given as 4.05 multiplied by 1 minus 0.0478. Right. So 0.0478 is basically 4.78%. So we want that as 3.86. That's going to be 3.86 right there. Right. Very easy. Or let me just leave it the way it is. But for presentation's sake, you want to put it to 2 decimal places, right? Because it's money. So 3.86. I'm going to write it like that. All right. Oops. Writing in capital letters feels good, especially if you are writing an email. All right. Required funds is given as, this is the amount that we need there, 11.17 million, right? So this is what we need there. Now the number of shares to be issued. I know you can basically write better English than what I'm doing here, né? But I think this is quite understandable. So that's there times 1,000. So the reason why I'm multiplying that by 1,000 is because it's millions and we wrote it as thousands there, just for the sake of calculations, right? Matter of fact, let's do it this way. Let me just, so that we are not confused there. I think it's gonna be easier if we put it as 11,170,123 divided by, so the value per share is 3.86 there. That's the value per share. Right. So after dividing here, we will basically get the number of shares that need to be issued in order for us to get this full amount of money there. All right. So we will do the calculation together. We'll do the calculation together. Right. All right, equals. So this is the amount there times 1,000 because we want it to be 11,170,000. Then we divide it by the answer that we got there. So these are the number of shares that need to be issued. So if we issue this number of shares based on this price, we will raise this amount of money. All right. What about debt, which is debentures? Let's see what the value of those debentures is. The company will issue 12% debentures at a nominal value of 70 rand each. So we already have the nominal value. We are not told about any expenses incurred, so we are going to work with 70 rand, right? And then, so let's say, let's distinguish between these two. We will say equity there, right? And then debentures, which is under our debt, right? So the funds required, right? What are the funds required? So we can fetch them there. 7,330,123, right? And then value per debenture is 70 rand, right? So we can say value per debenture. So these debentures, we deal with them individually, right? They are issued much like shares. So we say these are 70 rand. That's the market value of those debentures. So number of debentures to be issued, number of debentures to be issued. Okay, let's put it in brackets again. So it's obviously going to be the money that's required, the funds that are required, 7,330,123, and we are dividing that by 70 there. Right. Oops. All right, so let's do the calculation and see what we get on that one. Right, so this is going to be 11,170,123 divided by 70. So this is what we need to issue there. 159,570. So we are done with proposal number 1.
And you made a mistake. It's not 11,170. It is actually 7,330. So the total answer is 104,714.
Wait, sorry, I'm missing it. Where did I miss?
The number of debentures to be issued. So instead of you using 7,330, you said 11,170.
Very smart. 1, 2, 3. It's good that you are watching. Thank you very much for keeping track of that. So it has to be 104,714. Thank you very much for keeping track of that. So which means these are the number of debentures that we need to issue out. So if you are going to be auditing anyone's work, these are the things that you are looking at there, or anyone's company for that matter. This could be a big fraud that is being unearthed, you see. Right, so option number 2 Right? So the only difference now with between option 1 and option 2 is just this is the same. The requirements here are the same. The difference now only comes with in terms of the type of equity, the kind of equity. So in this instance, we'll be dealing with preference shares. So which means this part is the same here. The amount that is required is just the same. So we can pull this down here. But then we'll need the value per share for the preference shares, which is going to be slightly different. Right, let's fetch it from the information. So if you observe here, the debentures, the price of debentures is the same. There's 70 rand and 70 rand in both cases. So there's not going to be any change there. The price is essentially the same. But with preference shares now, the original preference shares are valued at 100 rand each. So which means we are simply dividing now by 100. Right. So which means we are going to need fewer preference shares. So value per preference share is 100. So number of shares to be issued number of shares to be issued. So it's going to be, let's make it uniform. There's going to be 11,170, 123 divided by 100. All right. So we need that information right here. Okay. So easy to calculate, right? 170, 11, 170, 123 divided by 100. So these are the number of shares that we need. Right. Still under option B, debentures, we need the same number of debentures. So this you could as well copy and paste it here. If you leave it out, we will assume that you didn't read the question. No? If you leave it out, we will assume that you never read this part of the question. This part about debentures, again, under proposal number 2. Right. So we will be done with the first part of the question. I don't know if you have any questions so far. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No questions. So we'll move on to part B. So please do take note of what was happening here, right? On the first part, how we arrived at these additions here. So if you wish to show your workings here, so that your work is not the same, then you might want to show how you get your 25,410 here, which is 0.7 times the total, and then 0.3 there times the total. And then again, this as the balancing figure, you might want to indicate that it's the balancing figure or show the deductions on your workings. You simply show 25,410 minus 14,240. So there are many ways in which they could ask this question. And then in terms of your debt to equity ratio, again, you need to be on the lookout. If you look at how this is given here, your target debt to equity is 30 to 70. So you need to be able to accurately identify which portion here represents your debt and which portion represents your equity. So it's always debt to equity, right? Even though when we went over on the other side to present it, it was equity to debt. So make sure that you match it correctly there. All right, let's move on to part B. Using market values. So we are just going to calculate market values here, right? In terms of the calculation of the weighted, okay, we'll see if we can get to that, but it seems quite short. Maybe we could get to that as well. Using market values of the company's existing capital structure, calculate the weighted average cost of capital of SA Clinic. So let's immediately jump to the statement of financial position and see what we have. So in terms of our capital structure, we already identified that we have equity and this debt, which is debentures. So we need to see how we can find market values of those. So what are we looking for in terms of weighted average cost of capital? Obviously, are going to need the cost of the different capitals that we have, and then we also need the weightings of those. To get those weightings, we need the market values, since they indicated that we must make use of market values. Right. So if they didn't indicate what we should make use of, then you will use the target structure. You will use the target structure. So because we are not given that, then we are given that, but we are specifically asked to make use of the market values, then we will do that. All right, so on our part B, required B, we are calculating work. So we make use of a table again, instrument, which is quite easy, by the way. I think I find a table a lot easier to understand. Equity, so we might require a calculation for equity, so we'll put that under calculation number 1. And then with debt, we have debentures, right? So we can put our debentures under calculation number 2. All right. So after we do that, since we know the instruments now, we want the market values of those instruments. So we'll do the calculations there. After we have the market values, then we want to use those values to get the weight. And then from our calculations again, we get cost of each of those, and then we use that to calculate work right there. All right, so this is going to be amounts. So let's basically put it like that. All right, so calculation number 1, equity. So remember, in calculating equity, once you are asked to calculate the market values at your KEs, there are basically 3 methods that you can make use of, which we've already spoken about before, but it's worth mentioning. You might make use of the dividends growth model, which is by Mr. Gordon's dividend growth model, or capital asset pricing method, or sometimes you might plain use ratios, right? Any of those there. Those are the 3 options that you have. So which method are you going to go for? It depends with what's given, right? And then which method is the easiest? They are all easiest, right? They are all very easy. So we might want to use to calculate the market value. So the market value, what are you looking for? You basically want the market price. So it's a listed company, so you will get a quoted price for that, because it's a listed price, it's a listed company. So these shares are traded, so you can pull that off the JSE. You will get the market price. So you want to check along those lines now, how much it is to issue a share, right? That will basically give you a rough idea of what the price is, price per share, right? Sometimes you might not be given the price per share, like I already indicated. You can basically make use of ratios, like you could be given investor ratios, right? Those financial market ratios. Any of those that have got price, for instance, the price earnings ratio can basically give you an overview of what the value of the company is. So sometimes they give you that, right? So here we have the quoted price. So the company will issue ordinary shares at 4.5. So this is the price. But let's see again, what are we given? But first of all, maybe we might want to see, we might want to check what's on the notes there to see if there's anything. So it's on note number 4. Let's see what's on note number 4. Good, so this is note number 4. So this is all the information that we need. All right, so the company's growth rate is 3.5. So once you see growth rate, then you are most likely going to be making use of Gordon's dividends growth model, right? It's 3.5 and is expected to double going forward. Then the company declared a dividend of 15 cents for the year ended 31 August 2018, which is the particular year that we're dealing with. And the dividends are going to increase in line with the growth rate. Right. So we are assuming a constant rate growth. So our dividends are going to be growing. So what's the formula now? We have the market price, okay? So which means we are not looking for P, we are given P, which is the price. So maybe let's start off with market value. Market value of equity. So that's going to be the market price. So the market price, sorry, let me share the screen there. Right, let me just share that screen. Right, let me minimize it on my side so I can see what's going on. So the market price is 4.05. So 4.05 times, what do we need now? We need to know the number of shares, right? We need to know the number of shares. Now that we know the value per share, we need to know the number of shares. So we don't have any information there on 4, but we are told that the book value is 11,180, right? And then if the book value is 11,180 and the original issue price is 3.25, so if we divide those two, we will get an idea of what the shares are, the number of shares that are outstanding at the moment. So let's do that. So if you want, you can basically have a separate line there where you show the calculation of the number of shares, right? Slight interruption there. Okay. Right, what are the number of shares? So we are still about to calculate the number of shares here. So the number of shares are going to be given by, so we have 11.18 million, which is the book value of equity, or the book value of the ordinary shares, let me put it that way. So we want to divide that by 3.25, which is the value per share. So that would basically give us the number of shares, the number of shares that are outstanding. So to get the value now, we simply multiply the number of shares outstanding by 4.05, which is the value per share. 4.05 times 11,181,223 divided by 3.25. So this is what we get the market value. So we need this right here. So let's put it straight up there. And then we also need our equity, our cost of equity, KE. So in terms of our KE, because we're making use of the Gordon-Stevens growth model, let me just put up the formula before I leave this screen, right? The formula there is going to be your dividend, not just any dividend, but your next dividend, right? It's going to be your next dividend. Right, which is going to be your next dividend. All right, so we refer to that as D1. Sorry, I was interrupted there by a call. All right, so D1, and we want to divide that by the price, the market price, and then you add your G, which is your growth rate there. Right, so now we want to fetch this. Okay, D1 we don't have. Now maybe we can simply show a calculation there of D1. Right. If you want to impress the marker, then you show them that D1 is equal to the current dividend, which is D0 times the growth 1 plus G. Right, that will basically give you. So maybe we can start off with that calculation. I think it would be good to start off with that calculation. So we are still on note number 4. All right, so it's the company declared a dividend of 15 cents. So this is what we have. So 15 cents, which is 0.15 there. So you want to grow that by what rate? Oops, sorry, I think I didn't share the screen there. Okay, my screen is very slow now, but you can just check it out there on under proposal number 1. Okay, there we go. We got it. So it's 15 cents. This is the 15 cents here. So that's the current dividend. So which is D0. So you want to increase that D0 by the growth rate. So the current growth rate is 3.5, but we are expected that, but we are told that this is going to double going forward. So which means going forward, it's going to be times 2, right? So which is 3.5 times 2. So let's just show the workings for that. All right, so we said it's 0.15 times 1 plus 0.07, which is the growth rate, which we're going to show how we got to, right? Maybe we can say G is equal to 0.035 times 2, right? That's our G. So that should give us what? That should give us 0.07, right? So we can do the calculation there. Let me punch it on the side here. So it's going to be 0.15 times 116 or 0.5, 0.16 basically. So which means this is our dividend 0.16. That's my bad, I'm just fetching a charger here before this phone switches off. All right, let's charge this quickly. All right. All right, connected now. All right, so we have our D1. So we want to divide our D1 here by the price which we have. So take note here that I'm putting everything under the same denomination, right? So because we are dealing with this in rands, we are keeping everything in rands. So hence you see this is 0.16 right there, right? And then the market value per share is given there as 4.05. So we take that 4.05, and then to that we want to add the growth rate, which is 0.07, right? So that will basically give us right, we will punch it together. Let's see. So 0.16 divided by 4.05, and then to that we want to add 0.07, which is the new growth rate. So KE is basically what? 10.95. 10.95%. So note that this is a decimal and we've just converted that to a percentage. So but I'm gonna put it here as decimal, so 0.1095, and then we'll do the conversion later. All right, let's deal with the debentures. Let's deal with the debentures and then we will be done. All right, debentures are on note number 2. So let's go to note number 2. So we disregard the ones where they said they can be issued for such and such a price. We want to see the ones that we currently have. All right. So the debentures were issued 4 years ago to part finance the purchase of Vanderbilt. So in case you didn't know, this is how Vanderbilt is spelled, right? It's somewhere in the vowel. That's how you spell Vanderbilt. Right. There is a 0.32 premium, tax deductible. Take note of that on the capital payable a year before the redemption date. All right. And then the capital is repayable on 31 August 2022, right, which is the redemption date. So the company pays a fixed interest of 300. The company pays a fixed interest of 300. And then while the going rate for similar debentures there is 12%. All right, so let's do the calculation and see. So our tax rate, I believe, is 28%. Okay, there we go. Tax rate is 28%. We will normally get it now as 27% after the change. So currently we are in August 2018. So we want to see now how many years from now. So which means from 2018 to the redemption date, which is 2022, we have 2019, 2020, 21, 2022. So we've got basically 4 years to this one here where the capital is being repaid and then the premium is repaid a year before. All right, let's put that on the sheet there. Try and break it down. Right. Let's just put it up there so maybe it's going to be a little bit clearer. All right. Debentures. All right, so KD, right, which is basically market value of a similar debenture. We are told it's 12% per annum. So we want to multiply that 12%, which we do in consideration of tax deductibility of that debt there. That's why we do that. So it's gonna be 0.72 times 12, 8.64, right? 8.64%. Right. So where do we need that 8.64%? We can as well come and put it here. 0.0864. That's where we need that there. Right. Now we need the market value. Right. We need the market value. So how do you get the market value of debentures? You basically want to find the present values, right? The present value of the payments that are associated with the debenture. So we identified 4 years, right? We have 4 years and per annum is 300,000. So which means we have got a fixed payment of 300,000. So, and by the way, just to give you a hint on this, let me take you down this. All right, just to give you a hint here, when you're calculating your present values, I think there's a formula that you normally see, or there's a method that you normally see where you have your PMT, and then you have your present value, you have your future value, you have your I, and then you just want to compute PV with your financial calculator. That's perfectly fine. But then before doing that, now you want to assess the kind of cash flows that you have. So that method you make use of if the cash flows are just the same. So in other words, look at this one here. The company pays a fixed interest of 300,000 per annum. So which means this is the coupon. Basically, it's like the coupon payment that is made every year, and it's the same right through. So in just looking at this circumstance here, where you have the capital being repaid at a certain date, and then you have got these consistent coupons, then you can make use of that. But now, because we have got a premium that is put in there, it means our cash flows are going to be uneven cash flows. So you basically now need to put in cash flow 1, cash flow 2, cash flow 3, and then define the present value of all those cash flows. So this is redeemed at year 4, right? This is redeemed at year 4. And then, so if this is redeemed at year 4, then which means the payment of this premium is going to be done at year 3, right? So we need to take that into consideration there. So now we need to draft it now in terms of CF1, which is the first cash flow 1, cash flow number 2, right, and then cash flow 3, and then cash flow 4, where there is going to be the redemption of the capital amount. Right, so on CF1, we are told that the payment is 300,000, right? So the payment there is going to be negative 300,000. So what is that 300,000 is the interest, the fixed interest payment. That interest obviously attracts a tax deduction, so we can put in the after-tax interest there. Right, let's do the amount, which is 300,000, 123 times 0.72. That would basically give us 216,000. So let's put it up there. 216,000. That's cash flow, and then the second one is just the same as the first one, right? We don't yet have that issue, which is the issue of the premium. So we can pretty much put this payment as the same, copy and paste it there, right? Then when it comes to year 3 now, year 3, that's where they spoke of the 0.32% premium, right? The 0. So let me check it up there so we can see. So this has got to do with the redemption of capital amount, right? This has basically got to do with the redemption of the capital amount there. So there is a 0.32% premium, which is also tax deductible, which is payable a year before. So it's also a payment that we're making, right? So we will need to see now it's 0.32 of what? So it's off the capital amount. So where is the capital amount? This is the capital amount, which is 3560 there. All right, 3560. I'm gonna keep that in mind there. All right, so 3560. It's bear in mind that 3560 needs to be in millions. Right? So maybe before we forget that, let's put it first. All right, so there's gonna be a payment of minus 3560 million times 0.35%, right, which is basically a premium. Then we are adding those two payments, so because they are both negative, so I'm gonna put them negative and negative there. And then the interest is just the same, right? The interest is fairly the same, 216 123. So which is basically the amount that we got on top there. Right, let's see how much it is. So this is going to be 3,560,123 times 0.35%. So divide that by 100. Then the answer that we get there, we want to combine those two. We want to see the total payment. So it's 228,460. So there's a payment there of 228,460. So you want to take note of when the premium is paid. Sometimes the premium is paid a year after redemption. In this case, it's paid a year before redemption, and usually it's paid on the same year, right? So on this year, what are we paying? We are repaying back the amount, right? Which is therefore, this is where the redemption occurs. So we are paying back the full amount, and then we still need to pay back the interest, which is fixed, right? So we are combining those two amounts there. So which is basically 3560 plus 300, right? So it's 3860, right? So this is basically a negative 3860. Your negative amounts, you might want to show them in brackets, right? You might want to show them in brackets. All right, so these are, okay, sorry, we need to adjust interest. Sorry, we need to adjust tax on that one, my bad. So it's not 300,000, it's instead 216, right? Taking into consideration that taxation there. So 3560 plus 216, so it's 3776. Right. 3776. All right. Now there comes the part where we want to punch these things in our financial calculator. So I've got mine here on the laptop, so I'm gonna share the screen for that one. So we are putting in all these cash flows here. So they are all negative, by the way. Right. These are outflows. Another outflow there. Right, and then the last outflow on that one. So at this point, you can as well switch on your financial calculator and get ready to do the calculation. Right, I'm just gonna share mine here. Mine is similar to yours, very much similar to yours, except that mine is right here on the laptop. So, right, so we are going to use this one here because we have got a series of cash flows. Right, so we are going to make use of that one. Oops, it's loading. All right, that was very fast. So we want the discount rate. Let me check it on the side there. Okay, seems like it's not working. Let me check it. Right, the discount rate is 8.64. So I'm gonna put the rate there, 8.64. Right. Then the first cash flow on nil, we don't have anything. So we are starting off our cash flows on year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I believe year 1 was it's 216. All right, so which means we had a negative 216, and then we had the same on the second year, negative 216 there, and then year 3 was where we had the premium, right? Where we had the premium, so it was negative 228,460. That's 228,460, right? And then on the last one, we had the capital redemption, and then we also had the interest, right? So we had that at 3776. So let's put it up, 3776, 1, 2, 3. So those are the amounts that we have. So we basically want to calculate our net present value of those cash flows. So here we don't have anything, right? So we do the calculation there. So this is the amount here. So which means the market value is worth 3,276.51. Let me just write it there on the side. So you can confirm the calculation on your financial calculator. Okay, so we want to compute present value, compute PV. Right. Let me put that question mark there. Right, so the PV is, so I'm just typing the amount as I see it here. It's 3,270,651. Right, that's the amount as I see it there. All right, let me share the screen and you see what I just typed. There you go. So we have the present value. We are done. So now we want to take this present value and put it on the market values there. So it's 3270. 3270, is it 651? I can't remember. Let me scroll down. Yes, 651. 651. Right, once we have those, I think the rest is easy now. We just want to find the totals there. So the total is 13 watt plus 3 watt. So it gives us the total amount. How do we find the weight? So the weight is basically the market value of equity divided by the total of our capital. If you want to multiply it by 100, it's fine, but you can also keep it as a decimal. With debentures, it's going to be debentures divided by total. So if you add these two, by the way, just to see that you didn't make a mistake, the sum has to be 1. Right, it has to give you 1 there. All right, and then you multiply that weight by cost. All right, so your weight by the cost gives you that there. Then again, you repeat the same thing there, your weight by cost. So your weighted average cost of capital is basically the total of these two here. So which is that amount plus this amount is your 10.51. So let's put these as decimals, not as decimals, sorry, as percentages. And then we can put to two decimal places. Right. Let's put that to 2 decimal places. Right. So this is your answer there for the weighted average cost of capital. All right. I don't know if you have any questions tonight. If you have any questions with regards to this. So next up, what we are going to be doing now, let me see what questions at stake. Before I think, I've gotten so tired now. Let's see what questions are at stake. I promise that we're going to do this one here, calculate the foreign exchange profit or loss by incurred by taking out the forward exchange rate. So what you are basically doing here, you are looking at the difference between that spot rate and the exchange rate that's given. Right. Let's just have a look at that there. I'm not going to do the calculation, but I will say what you need to do there. Where are the exchange? Somewhere here. All right. So the one that's going to be All right. Sorry about that. That was quite a long wait. My network is just as tired now. We are completing this now. Okay, so I was still saying the only effective date there is the date of payment that you're dealing with. So it's the date that basically determines whether or not you are making a loss or a profit in as far as the exchange rates are, in as far as the exchange rates are concerned. So that's the determining factor there. Right. So I'm just waiting to share that part of the paper. I'm waiting to share that part of paper and then. So I was also saying we're going to be looking at company valuation. So it's three that we are going to take a look at. I think we'll be looking at the multiples method, which I think you either have seen it in your tests or you have seen it in, you could have seen it in some assignment also. So we're going to be looking at that. I think the one that you haven't really come across is for the free cash flows method, right? DCF method, discounted cash flows method. So probably you haven't seen that one. So we are going to that one. When you are that on undergrad, they don't normally go big on DCF methods, which are quite simple again, but you hardly ever get quizzed with difficult questions on that one. Right? They just keep them straightforward. Okay, so I'm just going to show you on the network is really getting worse now, but we'll be done. Save those that are going to be listening to the recording.